Missy Hyde here with Manuel ASENSIO, who's one of 3 candidates running for the Republican primary in the 3rd District congressional seat in Florida. Now, give me the top 5 reasons we should vote for you.
5.
Yes.
You know, I'm running to be a politician, but I'm not a politician,
right.
So I don't have these canned responses. And you know that I have my laws, of course, the laws that are going to protect Americans from the use of raw will, either in court or in the legislative process or in the executive process, not in the president's office, but the executive process at the Department of Justice, which is very important.
Right.
So that's raw will, number 1. We must end raw will.
Okay.
End it, terminate it, and prevent it from ever rearing its ugly head in America, because raw will, the use of raw will to govern, is communism, is socialism, is Marxism. It's not American democratic Republican governorship in accordance to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. That'd be number 1.
Okay.
Number 2 is that I have experience with Marxism, and that's what we need to do. The 118th Congress has to do what the 117th hasn't done, deal with the Marxist takeover of our presidential election in 2020. Not only throughout President Trump's term, because what happened in President Trump's term was the enforcement of open borders policies by the establishment against the anti-establishment president, the first one, who vanquished all 16 of his establishment candidates, and then they vanquished him.
Yeah.
That's wrong. He vanquished Hillary.
Definitely, thank goodness.
We owe that. I always say, if not for President Trump, we would be living in the 2nd term of Hillary's presidency. And it'll be 16 years of Marxism, 8 for Obama, and then 8 for Hillary. You'd be finished. You'd be finished. Trump did the best he could, but he was thrown in the bus by Bill Barr, let's face it. That's what happened. So I'm going to rescind the certification of the 2020 presidential election by Michael Pence so that we can proceed constitutionally. There was no review under law in any U.S. court of any of the allegations against of fraud in the election. But that's not my issue. President Trump was hit with 50 injunctions during his term. Every one of them was unconstitutional and wrong. And that needs to be looked at and corrected. And I did with my acts. I'm also in line with the anti-establishment majority on the Republican side in the 3rd. Congress does not have someone that's a bona fide legitimate on the Republican side, the opposite of AOC. We need to have a leader that is not going to play along with the establishment. I'm that guy, not the establishment players that I'm up against. And they are rhinos and they are establishment players.
Okay.
I think we've spoken about that
yes.
tonight, privately and formally here, during the 3 days we've been together. I think that's clear. Is that 5?
That's 4. That's 3. That's
3. So you should say, well, I took down 50 fraud on Wall Street.
Okay.
And you know what? This is a simple fraud to take down. I mean, it didn't take a lot to see that the Judicial Conduct Act of 1980, which was put in place as a response to raw will, which now has been admitted to in the draft that was released, right? Raw will is in there all over the place. The use of raw will and force is how government gets into controversies which it should never get into.
Right.
In either a home, a private home, or in our public square. They have no right to take over abortion. It did and no one any good.
Right.
That needed to be settled by the people with their gods, their church, their doctors, the husbands and wives, their immediate families, whomever they'd like to, but not the federal government.
No, they need to get out of our lives.
Yeah, well, I've spoken about that when we talked about raw will. the judges had no right to side with the Marxists in anything, much less against President Trump, that was put in place to roll back the Marxism that Obama brought into the country.
Correct. Well, thank you very much, and don't forget to vote on August 23rd.